Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So, welcome back to the Bhagavad Gita discussion based on the Sarartha Varshani Tika of Srila Vishwanath Chakra Thakur and the Rasikaranjan sub-commentary on the Sarartha Varshani. So, in the last few weeks, we have completed chapter 1, 2, and 3. So, three chapters we have completed. So, another three chapters are there 4, 5, and 6. And last week and last week, almost 7 classes, we covered chapter 6. Now, the actual teaching begins from chapter 3, although everything is told in a summary in chapter 2. Now it is being expanded. So the first 6 chapters are Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga is what Krishna is recommending Arjuna at this point in the Bhagavad Gita. Although right in the beginning in the second chapter, after analyzing Sankhya, you're not this body, analysis of matter and spirit, Bhakti Yoga is the highest yoga. Traigunya Vishaya Veda or Neha Bhikrama Nashoste, as Vishnu Chakra Thakur points out, Nirgun Bhakti. But it requires the mercy of the pure devotees. No, that's it. That's the adhikar. Mahat Kripa is required. So right now you have adhikar for Nishkam Karma Yoga. That's what at this point in the Gita, Krishna is saying. And after hearing about Sthita Pragya and the lofty consciousness of a one who is situated in Sthita Pragya, that is Buddhi, Arjuna wants to know whether such a person is going to fight. So if Buddhi is better than this Ghora Karma, then why are you suggesting me this? So now the third chapter, we saw how, Nishkama Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are one above the ladder. It's not that there are two different paths. One leads to other. By Nishkama Karma Yoga, the goal is to purify the chitta, the heart, Antakaran. And once the Antakaran is purified and you're a Jnana Nishta or Astita Pragya, then you can practice Jnana Yoga. So one leads to another. So that's why Arjuna, Karma Yoga is better than Jnana Yoga for you because you have Adhikar for Karma Yoga. So that's why Karma Yoga is better for you. And then, if you think you're not qualified for Karma Yoga, then practice Karma Kand and come to Nishkam Karma Yoga. But if you think you're qualified for Jnana Yoga, still come down to the platform of Nishkam Karma to set an example. And then he gives difference between Karma Yoga and Karma Kand. And then how Karma Yoga elevates one. And the greatest obstacle in Karma Yoga is because the senses are engaged and you can engage your psychophysical nature, your sabhava, and it can be harmonized by dharma. But the vasanas in the form of illicit desires, that one should regulate. Otherwise, they are a stumbling block. Toi asya paripantino, 3.34 Krishna told. And that's why Arjuna puts a question. So what is that which, atakena prayuktam papam charati purusha annichana varshneya baladiva niyojisa. What is that? And Krishna speaks about kamesh and then, the degrees of lust and how it is, it's the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. And that's why one should tasmatvam indriyana, the beginning with the senses, one should niyama, one should regulate this, and then he gives the knowledge of how to regulate. The knowledge is that indriyani paranyahur, indriyabhya paramana, manasastu parabuddhi, yo buddhi parasastu. Understand that this is the hierarchy. Having understood that, evam buddhe parambadva, samstabhya, regulate. Vishwanath Chakra Thakur takes this as you control the self by the self, because the self is the, Mahan, because above the senses, above the intelligence is the soul. That is the most superior. So when the self decides that I am not going to engage the senses, and that, that determination of the self. So like that, Vishwanath Chakra writes. But other acharyas mention how the purified intelligence, or follow the regulations of Guru Shadran Shastra and regulate the mind, senses, and sense objects. So that's how the third chapter ended. So basically, in the third chapter, in Karma Yoga, lust is the main obstacle. And ultimately, within Karma Yoga, there is Gyan. There is Gyan. There is knowledge. And that's why in the fourth chapter is titled as Jnana Vibhaga Yoga. Now, what is the connection between the third chapter and the fourth chapter? This has to be clearly understood. What is the connection? Because if you see in the third chapter, Krishna spoke about how Karma Yoga elevates. No? So that is verses from 3.30, 34, or 35, I think. So Karma Yoga elements, and then, but the greatest obstacle in Karma Yoga is lust, and one should regulate. And he gives the knowledge, the jnana, the knowledge. What is the knowledge he gives? What is the gyan he gives? Which verse he gives the gyan? Let us see who will answer. And I gave a short break to you so that you can all cover up what you must have missed the classes. Because if you don't systematically hear, then you'll not understand the connectivity and the flow, what is happening in the Gita. So what is the Gyan he is Krishna giving in the third chapter in that section? 3 point, Vinita Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, is it 3.41 to 43?
Yes, excellent. 3.41 to 43. So what is 3.43? I know, 42 I know. Yes, Tasmatvam Indriyanado Niyama Bharatarshava Papmanam Prajahinam Jnana Vijnana Nashanam. So he tells you regulate your senses here. Yes, definitely. And that Gyan he gives in 42 and 43. 42 and 43. So just he has given this knowledge here. Yes. Knowledge, regulate. And, you know, conquer this insatiable enemy, Kamarupa Durasadam, formidable, formidable enemy. So now in the fourth chapter, further how to, what? That further knowledge. Here this Gyan is 3.42 to 43. Excellent answer, in fact. Now further about that Gyan within practice of Karma Yoga. That Gyan will be given in the fourth chapter. So that's a connection between the third and the fourth chapters. Okay. So I hope you have understood this. Okay. Now this is the overview, and verses 1 to 10 speak about Krishna teaches and establishes dharma. And I'll not do the entire overview as we are discussing, then slowly, you'll understand the flow. So I'm just taking the first section now, and today we'll start with the first section. Krishna teaches and establishes dharma. So transcendental knowledge of Krishna, that's how Prabhupada titles his chapter as transcendental knowledge of Krishna only. I think. Transcendental knowledge, jnana. But in Sanskrit it is Jnana Vibhaga Yoga. Jnana Vibhaga Yoga. Okay. And this is a very famous verse. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakamabhrave. I spoke, Aham Proktavan, this indestructible knowledge. So the spiritual knowledge is what? Avvaya. Where you come across this avvayam word again? Previously you had come across it. Where you had come across? Who will answer? Where you had come across this avvayam? First time. Where you had come across? As you're going through the further chapters, I think all the previous chapters you're all forgetting. That's why I have to remind you. Where you came across? Anyone? Yes, Vinuta Mataji. Yes, I've unmuted you. Yeah, I've unmuted you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I'll try. It
Mm.
comes in second chapter. Which sloka exactly? I don't remember. It comes in
Okay,
second chapter,
that's fine.
Prabhuji.
That's fine. But just give us a hint at least which line of the verse. You're correct.
Ajam Avyayam. When they're describing about the soul.
Hmm. Very good, very good. At least this much attempt is applaudable. Shubha Ikshan Krishna Prabhuji, yes. Shubha Ikshan Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu 2.21.
2.21. You can recite the short 2.21.
Veda vina nisham nityam ya evam evam avyayam. Katham sa purusha partha kam gatayanti hantikam.
Ah,
In that first line, Prabhu, last word is
2.21.
avyayam.
Veda Vinashinatyam Hi Enam Ya Avyayam. Yeah, it is indestructible. But first time I am saying, first time where it was Avyayam. You're correct.
I also just remember about the soul part, Prabhu. That's why I just referred that. So, no idea,
Yeah,
Prabhu. The first time in Bhagavad
here
Gita.
Avinashi tu tadvidi yena sarvam idam sadam vinasham avyayasya. Avyayasya. The soul is indestructible or imperishable. So first time it comes here and later on in 2.21 it comes also. That's also correct. So yes, both are correct in one sense. So very nice. So we should, any new terminology, you have to know the definition. Avyayam. Prabhupada says indestructible, imperishable. So the knowledge is also imperishable. So whatever knowledge we are getting of Gita in this life, it will continue in the next life. Indestructible knowledge. To Vivaswan, sun god, he spoke it to Manu. Vivaswan, Manave Praha. Hmm? And Manu spoke it to Ikshvaku. Of course, here it is wrong, huh? The spelling, I don't know somehow. Manu Ikshvaku approved. So, right from the sun god to Manu, who is the father of mankind, and on earth was Ikshvaku in the Raghu Vamsha. So, this knowledge is coming from the sun line, from the sun god. So, now Krishna is speaking about the glory of this knowledge, what you're receiving. And Krishna gives this knowledge first to Vivaswan because Vivaswan is sun god. And sun is the chief planet among all the planets. Like he is the king among all the planets. And Mamu is also king, king of mankind. And Ikshvaku is also king on earth. So what this all means is that ultimately this transcendental knowledge is given to the topmost leaders because it is their duty to disseminate it to everyone. So that means it is given to the Kshatriyas. Now the whole topic of discussion in the previous chapter, what? Will answer. What was the topic of discussion at the end of the third chapter? What was the topic of discussion in the third chapter? In the end. Who will answer? I discussed this last week also, and just before now, beginning the third, the fourth chapter, I discussed it. Navneet Kalra Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat. I think the whole discussion was that Arjuna needs to do his prescribed duty and without and offer everything to Krishna without looking
Yes,
for
that's
any
Nishkam
results.
Karma Yoga. That is what he has convinced. But Karma Yoga elevates. But what is the greatest obstacle in Karma Yoga? What was the discussion in the last section of the third
Lust,
chapter?
lust was the
Lust.
main obstacle.
Yeah, lust is the major obstacle, and this knowledge how to conquer lust, Krishna gives to the Kshatriyas. Because one of the duties of the Kshatriyas is to protect the praja from what? Kshatrayate iti Kshatriya, from harm. But at a deeper level, the Kshatriya's job is to protect the praja from lust. They don't come under the Kam Vasanas. Because it is the kings who punish for if the citizens commit adharmic something. And the king is very powerful, then nobody will ever think of committing a sin. So sometimes, in the Western countries or even India today, because the laws are not very strict and people are committing all sinful activities because they know that law will never catch them. So that is not bad. That is very, very bad because the country will degrade, the citizens will degrade to hellish life. But in some countries, you know that the law is very strict, very, very strict. So the citizens will be, really very fearful to commit anything against the law because then there is a stringent punishment. So similarly, the Kshatriyas maintain the code of dharma. So how Kshatriyas protect from lust? That is the deeper understanding. That's why the Kshatriyas are given knowledge. So they give it through education because they promote education through the Gurukuls. I am not this body or I am not the body. And through culture, we don't behave in ways that increase bodily consciousness. This is consciousness, please remember. That means maintaining the culture. If you're preaching, people are, if the culture is, only exposing body, then it's very difficult to maintain that, darshan. So the culture, through the culture and the tradition and devotion, we get facilities for experiencing higher tastes. So this is Kshatriya's main, task is to propagate dharma through education, culture, and devotion. So that's why Krishna begins this fourth chapter, how he gives knowledge to the Kshatriyas. Sun god, then Manu, king of mankind, Swayambhu Manu. He's a Manvantar avatar, he's a Manvantar Manu, he's ruling over that period. And then there is Ikshvaku. So this is the point. So I'll come to now Vishwanath Chakravarti commentary. In the fourth chapter, the Lord speaks about the reasons for his appearance, the eternal nature of his appearance and activities. So the avatar, tattva, it is only in this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and nowhere else Krishna speaks about himself, on the avatar tattva. Because Arjuna asked this question, that's why. And the eternal nature and his activities, and also speaks of the excellence of Gyan in such things as Brahma Gyan. So now he's going to more speak about Gyan. That's why this is Gyan Vibhaga. Because in Karma Yoga there is Gyan. And as one performs Karma Yoga, the Gyan is going to increase, Sattva is going to increase. So that knowledge he is giving here in the fourth chapter. In this verse, the Lord praises Gyan Yoga, Imam Yogam. So this Yogam can refer to devotional service, Bhakti Yoga also. Prabhupada takes it like that, Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga takes it like that. So Yogam, the science of one's relationship with Supreme. So directly Prabhupada takes it as Bhakti Yoga. But within the flow of the Bhagavad Gita, it is Nishkam Karma Yoga. I hope you are able to understand this point, which he had already mentioned in the previous two chapters. So the previous two chapters have been discussing Nishkam Karma Yoga. So within the flow of the Bhagavad Gita, it is referring to Nishkam Karma Yoga. And the goal of Nishkam Karma Yoga is what? The goal of Nishkam Karma Yoga is what? Tukaram Prabhuji. What is the goal of Nishkam Karma Yoga?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Jnana?
Gyan. And what is the goal of Gyan?
I am not this body.
No, no, no. You realize I'm not this body, but ultimately what do you want to achieve by Gyan? What is the goal of the Gyani?
Liberation?
Yes. Liberation. What is the goal of Bhakti?
To serve Lord.
Yeah, but
Eternal.
ultimately what? Prema. Right?
Prema Bhakti, yes.
Yes, yes. Good, good. I'm happy that slowly the devotees are getting what is happening in the flow. So the Lord praises Gyan Yoga, Imam Yogam. So here Gyan Yoga is mentioned, Yogam as Gyan Yoga in the flow, but it can refer to Bhakti also, which Prabhupada is translating. The goal of Nishkam Karma. The goal of Nishkam Karma Yoga is Gyan, the purification of the Antakaran. When the Antakaran is purified, you are qualified for Gyan, which he had already mentioned in the 2 chapters. The 2 chapters are chapter 2 and 3. Okay, very short commentary. Prabhupada is a very elaborate commentary. Once we study Prabhupada's commentary with Baldev Devashan, that time we will definitely go through. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishaya vidu sakalena mahata yogo nashta parantapa. The saintly kings, Rajarishaya, understood this knowledge. Imam vidu, received in this discipline succession. Evam parampara praptam. By the influence of the powerful time, Mahata Kalena, this disciplined succession of yoga was broken. Iha yoga nashta, O afflictor of enemies. Parantapa. Parantapayati iti parantapa. One who afflicts pain to others, is called as parantapa. Parantapayati iti parantapa. So like that, in this parampara from sun god to Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku in that like family, this great, great Raj Rishis received this knowledge in parampara system. Now, why does Krishna not give this knowledge to the Brahmanas and the Sannyasis, but to the Raj Rishis? What is the reason? That reason we discussed previously. Because it is the king's duty to implement dharma, The propagation is done by the Brahmanas, but to implement it is done through education, culture, so that Krishna gives it, and they are the leaders. But imagine during Krishna's time, right when the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present, and still everything was so pure 5,000 years back. There were great yogis, great saints, great rishis. We have all heard in the Bhagavatam who all, personalities were there during that time. But still, the influence of time was that, Krishna felt that the teachings are lost. That is the powerful influence of time. Time is so powerful that it makes you deviate or it makes you forget. Sakalena Mahata, Yoga Nashta. Powerful influence of powerful. Mahata Kalena. This discipline of yoga was broken. Iha Yoga Nashta, O inflictor of many. So there's no commentary to this. Now, text 3. Sa evayam maya te adya yoga prokta puratanaha bhakto se me sakacheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam. As you are my devotee, me bhakto asi and friend saka cha iti. I have spoken maya prokta, this knowledge, sa eva ayam puratana yoga. So this yoga of connecting to the Lord is Puratana. But Adya means today. Today means, not today. Today means 5,000 years back. Krishna is telling me, today I'm going to give that knowledge. So what are the reasons? Because You are my devotee. कर्म योगी नो, ज्ञान योगी, अष्टांग योगी करके नहीं, भक्त ultimately, because this bhakti is a confidential knowledge, and that is why he's called as rahasyam. And it is rahasyam. What kind of rahasyam? The topmost, uttamam, transcendental, ultimate secret. So that's what Krishna is saying this. So there are two qualifications for Arjuna. He is a devotee and a friend. And that's why Krishna is narrating. Just like in the family, if the father has 10 sons and not all sons are so, uh, very much submissive to the father and following his instruction, but one of the sons is very, very dedicated, following and very submissive, you know. So then the father is more inclined to tell the secrets of the family wealth. So it's a hidden secret. So it is a heart to heart transaction. So that's why bhakti is very, very confidential knowledge. Rahasyam, ultimate secret it is. We all know that Bhagavad Gita is available, the 700 verses are the same. But still, just by studying it, you cannot understand until you come in the parampara and you hear it from a devotee. So this was the qualification of Arjuna, Bhaktosya me sakacheti. That's why he reveals this knowledge. Krishna Arjuna, in this verse, the Lord gives the reasons for speaking this yoga to Arjuna. You are my devotee and my friend. Apart from these two reasons, he gives another reason for not speaking this to inferior persons. It is most secret, rahasyam. So Bhagavad Gita is an open book. All over the world, people can have access, but still it will be always a secret. Because you cannot enter into the mysteries of the Bhagavad Gita. You cannot penetrate into the mysteries of the Bhagavad Gita without coming in the parampara, without being a devotee, and without hearing from a devotee. Connected in the Guru Shish parampara. The example, classic example is given of, the honey which is stored with in a glass jar covered by a lid. The honey bee, the bee might sit on the glass, but it can never get the nectar because it doesn't have access. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita can be only understood by devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, understand that why I'm telling you, what I'm telling you is the essence of all Vedic scriptures. Follow this yoga and fight. Okay. Now, what is happening, you have to see in the whole conversation. Krishna is giving this knowledge and he just spoke, that I gave this knowledge to Sun God and this knowledge is great. Rajrishis understood it in that way. And today I'm going to give the knowledge to you now. But Arjuna says, wait, 1 minute. So there is a rasa, exchange of rasa happening now. It's not that Arjuna doesn't know the glory of Krishna. Who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. He is, and Arjuna is his eternal associate. And whenever the Lord incarnates, Arjuna also comes in this world. But yet, by Yoga Maya, Arjuna is inspired to ask, wait, how is it possible we are contemporaries? And Vivaswan was born much before, millions of years before. So how can I believe that you gave this knowledge to Vivaswan? Because we are contemporaries. So by asking this question, Krishna is unfolding the glories of, Arjuna is unfolding the glories of Krishna, the avatar tattva, to inspire how the Lord is eternal and how the Lord appears in this world and how he knows everything. So that's how Arjuna is inspired to ask this question. So before he starts narrating, so Arjuna asks this question. Arjuna vacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvata katam etad vijaniyam tvamado proktavaniti. Arjuna said, you have you appeared after Vivaswan. Aparam bhavato janma. He was born previous to you. Param janma vivasvata. How can I understand? Katam etad vijaniyam. Janiyam means to know, or vijaniyam vishesh. Katam, how can I know that you spoke this yoga in the beginning? Tvam ado proktavaniti. How is it possible? We are contemporaries, 100 years back. And Vivaswan was born millions of years back. And you say that you spoke to him, this, but your birth and my birth is contemporary. So how can I understand this? This is a question of Arjuna. And this inspires the Lord to speak the Avatar Tattva. And this will only come in this section of the Bhagavad Gita, nowhere else further will come. Of course, the absolute truth will reveal himself more and more in the middle 6 chapters and even in the last 6 chapters. But this Avatar Tattva is coming up here. In this verse, Arjuna asks the impossibility of what Krishna has just spoken. What was the impossibility of what Krishna has spoken? What was that impossibility? What was that impossibility? Anyone? Yes, Navneet Kalra Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Impossibility was that Krishna appeared after Vivaswan, so how could he give this knowledge to him?
Who appeared millions and millions of years ago, right?
Ago. Yeah.
Yes. Your birth is recent, Aparam, and Vivaswan's birth is ancient, Param. How can I understand that you spoke to him? So, there's no commentary for these verses by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now, the Lord speaks. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vetitani Janmani tava charjuna Dhanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Vetta Parantapa. The Lord said, some mistake has happened. You and I may tavacha have gone through many births. Bahuni janmani vetitani. I know all these facts. Tani sarvani aham veda. But you do not know. Natvam vetta. O afflictor of enemies. So this is a very, very important verse and we have to try to understand what actually Krishna is saying. Let's go to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. In this verse, the Lord explains that he instructs through the agency of his avatars. So the avatar tattva is coming. I incarnated that time and I spoke to the sun god. Now many devotees ask sometimes some silly questions, Oh, was it the same Bhagavad Gita which Krishna spoke 700 verses? So basically we have to understand that here when Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, the context is of the battlefield. That was the setting. Of course, there might be no setting of the battlefield where Krishna must have spoken to the sun god, but the essence is the same. Whether they were exactly the similar verses, but the essence might be the same. That we have to understand. And how many verses it has, we have no idea, nowhere it is given in the Shastra. So we cannot speculate. But what we have to understand is the same philosophy was spoken, in a different context. Whether they were exactly the same verses, because all these verses of the Bhagavad Gita, you will find a similar verses in the Upanishads, different places. What is Bhagavad Gita? It is the essence of the Upanishads, Gita Upanishads. So in that sense, we have to understand. I appear as various avatars and you also appear as my companion at that time. So whenever Krishna appears, Arjuna also appears. Like Nar Narayan Rishi, Nar is Arjuna, Narayan is Krishna. Like that, whenever Krishna appears, Arjuna appears. I know since I am omniscient, being the Supreme Lord. You do not know since I cover your knowledge for fulfilling purpose of my pastimes. Now, this is essentially the difference between the Lord and his Nitya Siddha associates or Parshad, what you call. That both are eternal. Both are eternal. But even the Nitya Siddha's knowledge gets covered, not by Maya, but by Lord's arrangement, by Yoga Maya, in order to perform the pastimes. Whereas the Baddha Jivas, they are covered by Mahamaya. They don't know their previous life at all. So even the eternal associates who, as companions come, whenever the Lord incarnates, like Arjuna, even they don't know their past lives. Just imagine this. These are eternal associates. Huh? Arjuna is an eternal associate of. He came when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had come. With knowledge covered, O afflictor of enemy, you afflict, tapa, the enemies, param, by thinking of yourself as a son of Kunti, a Kshatriya, during in this life. Bhaktivinoda Tagore, Sri Krishna said, O Arjuna, chastiser of the enemy, both you and I have passed many lives. Because I am Parameshwar, the supreme controller, I remember everything, but you are a minute living entity, Anu Chaitanya Jivatma, with limited memory, therefore you cannot remember all of it. Since you are my perfected devotee, whenever I come in this world, you also take birth to support my pastimes. Past times, it's one word, However, I am omniscient, knowing everything. But there is still a subtle difference, Now, he starts giving the avatar tattva, knowledge from 4.6 onwards. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swam adishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Though I am unborn, Ajopi san, and the Lord of all entities, Bhutanam Ishwaropi san, having an imperishable body, Avyayatma, I appear with my own body, Prakritim Swam Adishtaya Sambhavami, by my own energy, Atma Mayaya. Now, literally on this verse, wars have been fought. I mean, not wars like literal battles, wars of words. Because Mayavadis take this verse and prove how the Lord's body is made of Maya, because Prakriti has been mentioned, na? So the Lord's body is also material like that, Between the personalist and the impersonalist, there have been wars going on. And that's why Vishnu Chakra Thakur gives a very elaborate commentary to explain this verse. So let us hear this. In this verse, he describes the manner of his appearance. Though I am without birth, I appear. Aja. Ajopi. Although I am Aja, Api, I appear. Ajopi, San Avya, Bhutanam Ishwaropi San, but I come, Sambhavami, I come. I descend in the form of devas, humans, and crawling animals and other forms. So in all the different, forms he comes. He comes in the form of devas, in like Vaman Dev, humans like Rama and Krishna. He comes in Matsya, Kurma, different forms. In fact, all the forms he can come. Now, Arjuna's question. This is the Purva Paksha. But what is remarkable about that? The Jiva is actually without birth and is born again after the destruction of Boss body. So, you are also Aja, the Jiva is also Aja. And Jiva is born with the body, and when the body is destroyed, again he is born. So, you are also like that. You are also Aja, you also accept forms like that. So, what is the difference between you and the Jiva? So, that's what the question of Arjuna is. The Lord answers, I have an indestructible body. So this is the first difference. Avvaya Atma. Whereas our body is destructible by nature because it is material. Whereas the Lord's body is spiritual completely. That's why it is indestructible. So this is the first difference the Lord is answering. Now, further, the Jiva is without birth in the sense that he is the soul apart from the body. He does he takes birth just because of his relationship with the body, which produces ignorance, agyan, because of avidya. But my being without birth and my taking birth are not separate from my body, since I am the Lord. Both my birth and my not being born are integral to my Swarupa. So the Jiva takes up a body, he's apart from the body, but it takes up a body because of karma. But the Lord, because of avidya, he has a desire to enjoy. That's why he takes up bodies. But the Lord, his Lord's body, is completely spiritual. It is integral to his Swarupa. That's the difference. As such a condition is difficult to occur, it is certainly astounding and inconceivable. And there is no worry that I will take birth in all sorts of forms like Jiva, who is under the influence of Papa and Punya. For I am the Lord of all living entities, Bhutanam Ishvara, not under the control of karma. So this is the second difference, between the Lord and the Jiva. So the Jiva is under the influence of Papa and Punya. Based on that, he gets different bodies. The Lord also accepts different forms of devas, of animals and all. But first thing is, he's not under the control of karma. All the forms the Lord accepts are his Swarupa. They are arising from his Swarupa. From my Swarupa, Krishna said, right? Whereas these forms are given to the jivas based on Papa and Punya, which is under the control of karma. And then the Lord is Bhutanam Ishvara. He is the Lord of all living entities. Whereas the jiva is not even the Ishvara of his body, because his body is also not under his control. So I hope you are able to understand the logical argument. Now, but the jiva receives bodies of deva, human and animal, according to karma by his subtle body, which causes his bondage. So you also receive bodies of deva, human, animal. The jiva also receives all this based on karma by his subtle body. He gets a gross body of a deva or a human or an animal, which causes him bondage. You, the Supreme Lord, are without a subtle body, and you are all pervading and control karma, time, and all other elements. The Shruti says, Bahusyam, may I become many. So this Bahusyam, may I become many, has to be understood in what context, the Shrutis are speaking this, Chandogya Upanishads. Eko Bahusyam is the verse. So this is at the level of Mahavishnu, when he desires to create the universe. And the jivas are there in a, unmanifest form in the body, in subtle forms. And because they have karma asanas and they have a desire to enjoy, they're impregnated in Prakriti by his glance. And then they're given bodies in this universes so that they can exhibit their propensities. So Eko Bahusam means desire to become many, means this is Mahavishnu speaking. Because ultimately, the jivas are eternal. The Lord is eternal. It's not the jivas at some point were created in the spiritual world. So this is how we have to understand. From that, it is understood that you are the form of the whole universe. You, the Supreme Lord, are without a subtle body and you are all pervading. So Eko Bhavsyam is the quote. Your form is the whole universe. When you say I appear in this particular way, I think that must mean that your birth means simply that you're revealing to people the multitude of bodily forms throughout the universe, which are also eternal as types. Now, what Arjuna is arguing in the Purva Paksha, please try to understand this carefully. Now, Prabhupada gives a very simple example that there are 84 lakh different apartments already there. And based on your capacity, based on your desire and karma, you get a particular apartment, like apartment of a deva, apartment in a Janalok, or apartment of a human being or a dog. These eternal, these forms are eternal. These types are eternal, and these bodily forms are there everywhere, and the jiva, any of these forms he accepts. So the jiva also does this. You also accept all these different forms. The jiva also accepts all these forms through subtle body and controlled by karma. You are the controller of karma and time, and you are without subtle body, and this whole universe is your form, and all these eternal different types of bodies are there. These are all eternal. So what's the little difference again? But how can that be? I make my appearance situated in my own form. Now here, Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya. This is Adhishtaya. Somehow there is a mistake. In the verse itself, I don't know how. So, these eternal types of bodies, 84 lakhs, these are created by Maya. And they are ready-made available. Like, you have a ready-made flat available. You don't need to construct. There is 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 4 bedroom, like that all. And based on your capacity to buy money, you go into that flat. So based on papa and punya and your karma, you get these eternal forms which are already there, 84 lakh, and you enter into those forms. But the Lord's form is Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya. It is born out of his own Swarupa. It might look like, a fish or a tortoise, but it is completely transcendental and spiritual. It is not of this world. So that's what Krishna is trying to say. If the word Prakriti meant the external material energy, then its controller, the Supreme Lord, becomes by inference a material form, not a special object of realization. So this is why where Vishwanath Chakra Thakur is, countering the Mayavadis, because the Mayavadis, through interpretation, mental speculation, concoctions, they somehow prove how the Lord's form is also made of Maya. But here you see the logical argument. This Prakriti, if it meant the external material energy by which these different types of bodies which are created by Maya, then its controller, because controller Krishna has already mentioned, Bhutanam Ishvara. By inference, a material form is not a special object of relation. Why would you meditate on some material form? Therefore, in conformity with the Amar Kosha dictionary meaning, Samsiddhim Prakriti Tva Ime Swarupam Cha Swabhavascha. The word Prakriti means Swarupa in this verse. So I appear in my own Swarupa. So that's why we have, you just cannot understand the Bhagavad Gita without, the Acharyas giving the correct meaning of the word in that context. So here in this context, Prakriti means Swarupa. It does not refer to the mental energy which arises from his Swarupa. Janmadhyasya, the universe appears from the Lord, So Maya Shakti is also appearing, but it is his own Swarupa, spiritual. Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya. The Lord Swarupa is Satchidananda, full of eternal spiritual knowledge and bliss. So this is Satchidananda Swarupa, which is nothing to do with the material energy. Concerning the word Prakriti, Sridhar Swami says, accepting a form, Prakriti, which is composed of Shuddha Sattva, Swam. So Vishnu Chakra Thakur is now giving the previous acharyas who have commented on Prakriti as Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami is saying Prakriti means composed of Shuddha Sattva, not of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, material energy. Ramacharya says Prakriti means own nature, Swabhav. So Krishna's own nature is Satchidananda. So you see Ramacharya is quoting. Thus the phrase means being situated in my nature. I appear in my Swarupa, Swam, by my own will. Whereas the jiva is forced according to karma to take bodies based on the subtle body impressions. But he comes on his own will. That's again the difference. In this case, Prakriti means the Lord's nature, which is condensed Satchidananda Rasa, which is distinct from the material energy. So why Vishwanath Chakra Thakur is so much hammering, in this Prakriti. I hope I laid the foundation, because wars have been fought on this verse, where Mayavadis interpret this and say the Lord's form is Maya. The word Swam along with Prakriti thus indicates my own Swarupa, my true form. For the Shruti says, Sa Bhagavad, Bhagavah, Bhagavata it should be I think, Kasmin, Prati Pratintita Swa Mahimne. Again, I'll look into the English. Maybe there is some mistake while cut and paste, cut paste. Let me see. Sa Bhagavaha Kasmin Pratishtita. Pratishtita it is. Somehow, I don't know why this is happening. Balaram. Dear sir, in what is the Supreme situated? Pratishtita. Kasmin Pratishtita. He is situated in his own glory. Swaha Mahimni. Swamadishtaya. Now, after quoting all this, he quotes also Madhusudan Saraswati, gives the following meaning, I appear situated in my Swarupa. So you see how many acharyas have commented Prakriti means own Swarupa. So Vishwanath Chakravarti is quoting Madhusudan Saraswati, Ramanacharya, Sridhar Swami. Being situated spiritually, I act without duality of soul and body. Whereas this, conditioned soul has a body and soul. But if you have indestructible bodies such as Matsya or Kurma, then why do you present form? Why your present form and the previous forms not appear all at once? So now he has proved that all these Matsya, Kurma, different forms, they are all spiritual. No? They are arising from the Sarushakti of the Lord and they have nothing to do with these 84 eternal types which are already there in the material world. Then you only show one form and not all forms together. What is the reason? Very nice reason. I appear by my Maya coming from myself. Atma Mayaya. Atma means self. Thus Atma means by my own Maya, through my Yoga Maya, the function of Chitsaki, which covers and reveals my Sarupas. So this is the Leela of the Lord, that the Lord, when he is come as Lord Ram, all other forms are there within him. Krishna, all other forms are there. But he covers them. Because that Rama Leela has a specific purpose. But to the sages of Dandakaranya Rishi, when they saw Ram, because their meditation was on Krishna, especially in the Madhurya Ras, so they saw Ram as Krishna. That form was revealed to them. And Ram form was covered for them. Although Ram was standing in front. And Ram understood. And that's why he said that I'll fulfill your desire in the next avatar. And that's why these sages of Dandakaranya incarnated as the Shruti-chari gopis in Krishna Lila. And there Krishna, because their meditation was on Krishna, so he by his Yogamaya covers one form and reveals another form. So for Mother Yashoda, he revealed the Bal Gopal form. And then when he showed the Vishwarupana, Mother Yashoda was seeing within Krishna the Vishwarupa in his mouth. So that time Krishna's form was covered, and that's why she started thinking, who is my son, seeing this, very amazing form. And then that time he had covered his Bal form. So then what did Krishna do? He covered his universal form and uncovered his childhood form and revealed his childhood form. So then Mother Yashoda, oh, that's all our dream. He is my son, like that. So for enacting pastimes, the Lord, by his Yogamaya, reveals only one form and not all the forms at once. I appear revealing my present form, having covered my previous forms. I hope this is clear. Sridhar Swami says, Sambhavami Atma means I appear by my energy of Jnana, Bala, Virya, which strongly manifests. So these are his, Shaktis. I appear with all my spiritual Shaktis. According to Ramanuja, Atma can also mean by my own knowledge, since Maya can mean knowledge in this context. Maya, Vayunam, Vijnanam. So by my own knowledge. The usage is stated, he continually knows sin and piety of all entities by knowledge, Maya. Madhusudan says Maya means the awareness through that body, Atma, that I am the Lord, Vasudev, devoid of difference between body and soul. Now, why again, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur is hammering on, Atma Maya, because that Atma Maya, they think Mayavadis as Maya, made of Maya, but Maya is Yoga Maya here. That's why Maya means knowledge, Maya means awareness of that body, which is the Lord, where there is no difference between body and soul, spiritual body. So that's why so many explanations, Sridhar Swami, Ramanuja, Madhusudan, again Vishnu Shankar Thakur is giving all this. This very lengthy commentary and a very logical, philosophical argument which we have covered. And the same thing Bhaktivinoda Thakur covers it. And I'll stop here if you have any questions, because this is a little difficult to understand for us. Of course, Prabhupada gives all the same arguments in his commentary. Now you can go back and see Prabhupada's commentary as we are studying this now. I want devotees to study now. We are all studying this now just to become more fixed and solidly understand the Bhaktivedanta purpose. So please study Prabhupada's purport and you'll much better and understand the Bhaktivedanta purpose by this and appreciate. Although you and I appear in this world again, there is specific difference between your descent and mine. I am Ishwar, controller of all living entities. Bhutanam, Ishwara. I am without birth, Aja, and my form is immutable, Avvaya. I appear to the agency of my knowledge potency, the Chit Sakti, Atma Maya, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whereas Jiva takes birth in this world under the influence of deluding potency, Mahamaya, which deprives them of the memory of their past lives. Even the eternal, the Baddha Jivas are deprived of memory of past lives because of, Mahamaya. But even the eternal associates, they don't remember about their previous lives. What is the reason? Who will answer? What is the reason? Arjuna doesn't know. Arjuna also was present when he spoke to Sun God there. Yes, Navneet Kalra Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Because of the Yog Maya potency of the Lord.
That is the difference. The Yoga Maya is acting. Yoga Maya is acting on the Nitya Siddhas, whereas on the Baddha Jivas, it is the Mahamaya potency acting. Jivas have to accept a subtle body as a result of previous actions, and as a result of taking shelter of that subtle body, they have to repeatedly take birth. But the Lord appears on his own will. Now, when does Lord Ram appear? Think about this question, and answer after thinking. When does Lord Ram appear? Okay, when does Lord Krishna appear? You tell. When does Lord Krishna appear? Think very carefully. This is a very enigmatic question. Who will answer? Vinita Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Lord appears to re-establish religion, the principles of
That's why
religion.
when does Krishna appear? It's a very, very, I told you, enigmatic
Um,
question. Don't think in a general sense and give a general answer.
Okay.
Very, very profound it is. Think carefully. Yes, Navneet Kalra Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Lord is transcendental. He doesn't appear. He's ever existing.
He appears whenever he wills. Whenever he desires to give darshan to his devotee, he appears. It's not that Lord Krishna appeared 5,000. That's a scheduled appearance.
Yeah.
That was the Vaivasvat Manu, the 7th Manu in the 28th cycle. Right?
Yeah.
He appears. That is schedule. But does now Krishna appear? He appears to his pure devotees and gives his darshan out of his own sweet will. Because he's not controlled by the laws. Atma Maya is. No?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Out of his own sweet will. When did Lord Ram appear? He appeared to give darshan to Kulashikar Alwar. Right?
Yeah.
Already Lord Ram scheduled incarnation happened in Tratyuga. So whenever he is out of his own sweet will, he wants to give darshan to his devotee, then he appears. That's the point. You have to understand from a deeper angle. Jivas have to accept subtle body because of previous actions, and as a result, taking shelter of that body, they have to repeatedly take birth. My appearance, however, in demigod, animal, and occurs so only by my own will. It's not that the Lord is, governed that, oh, this is the rule. No, that's why you have to come. No, it's his own will. Unlike the Jivas, my supremely pure conscious body is not covered by subtle and gross bodies. Satchidananda form it is. In this mundane plane, I manifest that very same eternal body that exists naturally in the spiritual realm of Vaikuntha. Someone may inquire, how is it possible for the transcendental personality to manifest in the material world along with his realm? Now hear my response. By Yogamaya Shakti, my Yogamaya Shakti is inconceivable and consequently beyond comprehension. So it's beyond our comprehension and inconceivable. Now, for your kind information, we have seen the Golok chart. There are unlimited material universes in the realm of Devi Dham. And then there is the Mahesh Dham, which is the Brahma Jyoti. And then there is a Hari Dham, which is the Vaikuntha planets. There are unlimited Vaikuntha planets. 1/4 is the material realm, and 3/4 is spiritual. So you can imagine how much unlimited Vaikuntha lokas are there, and different forms of the Lord are there. All the Sarupa Shakti of the Lord. And the capital of Vaikuntha is Golok Vrindavan, and Golok Vrindavan is, compared to all the Vaikuntha planets, it's very, very big. And that Golok Vrindavan has compressed. That same Golok Vrindavan inconceivably is just situated in Mathura, near Delhi. It is beyond our comprehension. That same thing it is. So big. How it is? It is inconceivable. So that's why that Yogamaya Shakti is there. No amount of reasoning, however clever, will allow one to understand the measure the activities of Yogamaya. So understanding the activities of Yogamaya is no reasoning will work. It is your duty to at least understand by innovative knowledge that I, Bhagavan, endowed as I am with inconceivable potency. I am not bound by any rules governing the mundane plane. By my mere will, all the entities of Vaikuntha can easily manifest their supremely pure forms in the material world, just by his will. In other words, I can transform the complete material phenomenal manifestation into spiritual existence. My all spiritual form, which is beyond all material laws, is completely pure, and even when it manifests in the material world. So even in the material world, when it manifests, it's not that the Lord's form transforms into Maya. No, it is always in his own Swarupa, Sachidananda. What doubt can be there about this? That Maya which controls the Jiva is also my energy, But understand that when I use the first phrase, my energy or Prakriti, it refers to the spiritual potency, Chit Shakti. So that's where the Mayavadis make a mistake because they don't want to accept God. That's why God gives them the intelligence to interpret like that. Although my potency is one without a second, in my presence, that potency is a spiritual potency. And for the jivas bound by karma, it appears as the deluding Maya. It's actually one potency, but it acts in different ways. Just like electricity can use for heating or cooling. This potency, endowed with its respective influences and various types of majestic mystic powers, forces them to rotate in the cycle of birth and death. So that's what Vishwanath Chakravarti has commented on 4.6. So any questions you have up till now? I can take up. One hand has been raised. Okay. Yes, Navneet Kalramataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I want to understand the term yoga is between 4.2 and 4.3. Is there any difference or is it the same?
Ivam vivasvate yogam. Proktavan aham avyayam. That verse you're speaking, na?
It
Between
comes twice between
4.2.
4.2 and 4.3.
Sakalena mahata yoga nashta parantapa. And then 4.3. Yoga. Hmm.
Yeah.
So there's no difference in one sense. Yoga again can, mean Prabhupada is here in 4.2, no? Yoga again linking, he'll say, the science of one's relation. Is from the bhakti context, he's translating like that. Here also is translated again from the bhakti context. And in 4.3 also, you know, science of linking, he'll say, the science of linking, yoga. So, but in the context, it can mean Nishkam Karma Yoga. No? Vishwanath
Because
Thakur is taking like that.
I'll tell you my
Yoga is,
confusion.
the. Uh-huh.
Because in the
Yeah, yeah.
first one, Viviswan and everybody is mentioned. Sorry. And in the second, it's saying, Arjuna, you are my friend and my devotee. So that's why this yoga. So is first one Jnana Yoga and second one Bhakti Yoga, or there is no difference?
No, basically, here specifically Vishwanath Thakur has made it a point that it is referring to, Jnana Yoga, because that which is the goal of Nishkam Karma Yoga in the flow of the Gita. Because if you see the whole discussion is, what is Krishna now giving knowledge, Arjuna? Gyan.
Yeah.
Gyan on how to conquer lust, which is the
Yeah.
greatest obstacle in the Karma Yoga. So,
Yeah.
but the whole Bhagavad Gita can be seen from the Bhakti context because ultimately, that is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So, from that angle, Prabhupada is seeing everything, and that's why directly he's referring to Bhakti Yoga. So, again, in the verse here, yoga means again connection, you know, the knowledge of how to, connect. This yoga means again here it is Nishkam Karma Yoga only. And this yoga means again it is, Prabhupada is saying Bhakti Yoga. So both meanings are correct, you have to understand. And here also it is the same, Yoga Prokta, this yoga, So it's again, based on the, progression of the Gita, it can mean Gyan Yoga, which is the goal of Karma Yoga. Or based on the ultimate essence of the Bhagavad Gita, you can say the science of relationship between oneself and the Lord, which is Bhakti Yoga in one sense. So both meanings are
Thank,
correct.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Any other questions anyone else has? Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. Great wish, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, this Prakritim Swamadhishthaya, verse 6.
Yeah.
This, I mean, Mayavadis, those who take it as a material nature. they are this Maya Aparita
Yes.
Jnanam, that category, na Prabhu? I mean,
Yeah, they are
for
Maya Pritagyan.
Maya
Maya Pritagyana Asuram Bhava Mashrita, or they are 9.11, Mogasha, no, what, 9.11 is Avjananti Ma Muda Manushum Tanumashita Param Bhavajananto Mama Bhuta Maheshwara. Mogasha Mo Karmano Moga Jnana Vichesata As Raksasim Ashurim. Very heavy Krishna is there if you see, very heavy. So he's speaking about them. And today, today the Maya Pritagyana, will change as per times, In the olden times, during Krishna Lila, it would have been the Asuras. And in today's context, it will refer to the scientist. Proper, that's why I say it is the scientist, Maya Pritagyana. Prakriti Mohini Vishita. Raksasim, very Asurim Chaiva. So this is, how they're, one would think that the Lord's form is made of Maya. This is referring to the Mayavadis. It refers to the Maya Pratagyana, and Maya Pratagyana will vary with the progression of time, whom you can relate to, So there are no demons like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu today, but the scientists, who with their philosophies theorize that there is no God, and the design argument, or the Big Bang theory. So it will refer to them. So at different levels,
Right.
you can see like that. Okay.
So until one has Sukriti, they will not understand.
Yeah, until they get the mercy of the devotee, they cannot understand this.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Okay. It's sharp 8:30. I'll stop now. We'll continue the discussion tomorrow. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai. Hare Krishna.